Well guys, here we are, the end of the 5K special week. It has been one hell of a week. We've gotten so many just incredible animals. It's been a little bit of a mess trying to get everything set up, get everything situated, everything that goes into, getting all these animals at once. It's been pretty hectic, but yeah, here we are at the end of it. I figured we'd end this week on a high note with a video that's been requested quite often. I know it's in a couple of people's different minds, and that of course is what it's like as a daily routine on what I do. It's not to be expected. I mean, I'm pretty, looking from the glass way in, you can kind of tell, wow man, you're fucking nuts. 100 animals, and you just do this every single day? How, Dakota? How do you do it? Well, mentally, I can't tell you, but the physical stuff, the day-to-day shit that I do every day, we're gonna go over it in this video. A day in the life of Dakota, a day in the life of DBCB Exotics, what it's like to own 100 animals. Whew. But first, roll the intro. And then after going into all the stuff I do here at DBCB Exotic, we'll be answering the big question. Do I regret becoming a full-time reptile breeder? We'll have to, you have to stick around and find out after all these messages of the daily stuff I do. So just in case this video ended up going viral and I got 1 million views now, 1 million subs, and you guys don't really know who I am, hi there, my name's Dakota Burke. I have been a reptile breeder for a few years now. I officially established myself as DBCB Exotics in early 2019, and I've been doing this as my full-time career for a couple months at this point. Whenever this video is out, a couple months since then. At DBCB Exotics, we have a multitude of different breeding projects coming from ball pythons, couple different monitor lizards, couple different geckos, snakes, everything. There's a bunch of different projects, which means a bunch of different animals. Anything pretty much ranging as small as a red-eyed tree frog to as large as an Argus monitor is everything in between that we work with. Not only that, as DBCB Exotics, also as the person, Dakota, I have quite a few rescues with my wife. This game's for a couple of different dogs. I believe we are up to 4 dogs now. We've got a German Shepherd, a Husky mix, a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, and then the new pet, a Bull Mastiff mix. All rescues, we have a special needs rescue kitty, and then we have 3 rescue parrots, including a blue and gold macaw, an African gray, and a Myers parrot. Now that you got a pretty good idea about who I am, if you don't know who I am, now we can move on. We can talk about a day in the life at DBCB Exotics. Now, I wasn't too sure how to film this. I had a couple of different ideas. I think in this one, I'm just gonna stick to pretty much narration of just what my typical day-to-day is, with a bunch of B-roll to back it up. Maybe later I'll make another one, which will be like POV style. I'll just be carrying the camera around and like literally showing you what I do every day. But for now, I think we're gonna stick with what we're doing right now. So, let's get into it. So starting out, of course, wake up in the morning. First thing I do in the morning is, of course, get that daily inspiration from the one, the only, Brian Barczyk. Always gotta get pumped up and have an awesome day. He says it to me, and then boom, that just gives me the inspiration to get up in the morning and do everything I do every day. So first things first, getting out into the room. Of course, we've got our 4 dogs. Each one of them, of course, needs to go outside in the morning, so that is the first thing on the list. Instead of being a smart person and spending a couple of $100 on a fence, I decided not to do that yet and get a lead instead. So I have to let them out 1 at a time, 4 times, a couple times a day. I know, that is a repeating pattern that you're gonna see of, Dakota, why don't you just spend the money to get this to make your life easier? Just haven't done it yet. So meanwhile, while the dogs are going outside in specific rotations, I come into this reptile room here. Again, I don't have automated lighting. I don't have any of the light timers, so I manually have to turn on all the 6 ways. I believe there is 3 or 4 different 6 ways in here that I turn on. Of course, next is just checking on all the animals, making sure everything is good. Anything that is diurnal or daytime, I usually miss. So anything like the chameleon, monitor lizard, toke geckos always miss twice a day. The crested geckos usually only miss once a day, and so on. on. As soon as I make sure everyone is good and missed it in here, I head back, switch out some more dogs and bring them outside, and then head into the bird room, which is directly behind us. At that point in the bird room, I check to make sure that the food is filled, supplement extra food, changing the water, and then of course changing the papers as needed. And then after about 3 minutes of arguing with my cob because he doesn't want to eat the pellets, he just wants the nuts, but you gotta tell him that he needs the pellets because that's the full nutrition in there. After that, we switch out the last dogs of the day and then get started for the next stuff. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, I'm usually defrosting some rodents in the sink to get ready for the reptile building. Yep, this is only one small step in the daily routine. After all this is done, the, 40 to an hour that I spend doing all this, I gotta do it all over again. Of course, I make the small trip over into my building, unlock the doors, turn the lights on, head upstairs, turn all the lights on, because again, no light timers, folks. I do not use light timers. I manually turn everything on in there. I know people are probably thinking like, Dakota, why don't you just get some light timers? It's a cheap thing. I don't know. I just like manually doing it. You get a little bit more like, you have to walk over there, so it's not like this thing where I can just walk in and be like, everyone looks good, the lights are on, and just head back out. It's something where like I have to manually get over to that enclosure, turn the lights on, and then I pretty much just open it up and give them a quick check. Now, up in the building is where I spend most of my time here at DBCB Exotics. That's where all of the much larger stuff is, so of course tegus, a couple different species of monitor lizards, tokay geckos, pretty much all of my tokay geckos are over there, ball pythons, a different couple of snakes, and things like that. So first things first, heading up there, of course turning on all of those lights, doing the same thing that I did in here, checking, making sure everyone is okay, things like that. Lizards are still in there, no one got out, just your regular, just reptile room basic stuff. Then of course for my monitor lizards or any snakes that happen to fall on the day that I go up there, I've got those frozen rodents de-thawed that I took with me. Then I just, end up feeding everyone off, making sure that the monitors are fed, the snakes are fed, everyone's looking good, checking thermostats, making sure that the temperature's reading is all good and they're nothing short-wired or anything like that. The more I talk about this, the more I'm like, this is really boring. You guys wanted me to do this? I don't know, maybe you thought the video would be something else, but honestly, I'm kind of boring myself just talking about all the things I do. Next up is, of course, changing waters out, so dumping all the water out, dumping that outside, getting fresh water in there, changing everything up. Usually, at least 3 times a week, I am doing spot clean checks, so I'm going into the enclosure, taking care of any poop that might have been happening, making sure the substrate still smells good, nothing that needs to be switched out or anything like that. Health checks for all the reptiles, making sure all my monitors are good, everyone's getting along. Of course, we have a few paired up in there. We've got, of course, the new Aki pair and, of course, the Argus monitors. I want to make sure everything's still kosher with them. Nothing where it needs to be separated at some point. So just, making sure everyone's good, happy, and healthy. After that, I head into the tokay tent, check out all of my tokays, making sure everyone is good, make sure I'm doing a mist. I do miss my tokays twice daily, especially in that tent, just because I'm using ambient heating, so I'm using a space heater to get that entire tent to a certain temperature. With using anything like space heaters, it usually dries the environment out quite readily, so I'm usually have to doing a couple of different heavily misting to make sure that the humidity is okay in every one individual's enclosure. After I do that, I check on all of the breeders that have eggs, make sure any of those eggs are hatched out yet, recording that if they have, making sure all those little babies look good. Usually about this time, it's where at least one of the tokays gets out of his enclosure, and then I get to wrangle a tokay back into the setup. That's about it for the morning part, unless I have any extra projects that I'm doing that I need to get done in there. That's usually just the daily maintenance that I'm doing in that building. So at that point, then I get back in my car, leave, head back to the home. I'll either film a video in that building before I leave, or I'll film a video in here just like I'm doing. At that point, I come back into the house, let the birds out so they get some free time on their little PVC jungle gyms or some of the branches and Java trees that I have in there, so they get the little free roaming time. At that point, I make the video, I edit the video for a couple of hours, bring out the birds, put the dogs in a separate area and bring out the birds, and so they get some social time with us. I'm usually doing that while editing as well. Then we get into the night part of this. God damn, I do a lot of shit. Why did I think this was a good idea? Oh my god, I'm just, realization, holy shit, I do a lot of stuff every day, fuck. And I'm getting demonetized because I just cussed, damn. So at this point, it's probably around 8 or 9 o'clock, and this is when I get into the night routine of my day. Pretty much in this room, it's mainly focused on crested geckos, getting those dirty food dishes out and supplementing them with clean food dishes. So that's about, I think we have 20-something crested geckos in here. So that's making 20 fucking individual things of food, bringing them in, switching everyone's food dish out, doing some misting in there, make sure everyone's enclosure has that nice humidity and water droplets so they can drink out of. Again, just turning off the lights off at this point, so missing some of the nocturnal species, such as some of my frogs, red-eyed tree frog, all the geckos, things like that. Turn off the lights through those 6 ways, put the birds up into the cage to go night, and then drive back to the reptile building. Getting back into the reptile building, reopen the door, head upstairs, make sure everyone still looks good, everyone's still awesome and happy. Usually I'll mess around with my monitors for a little bit before they go to bed. Usually I'm also in the daytime, I also socialize with my monitors. I usually open the enclosures up, just hang out with them a little bit. Sometimes I'm on my phone answering people's comments, things like that. And while I'm doing that, I'm interacting with my monitors. Pretty much anything that I do, I have to multitask at the same time, so I can't just socialize with my monitor lizards, because I also have a bunch of emails, messages from various social media sites, comments to reply to, stuff like that. So I'm never just doing one thing, I'm usually doing like multiple things at the same time. So then getting into this, then we get into all the nocturnal species that I need to miss. Of course, going back in that tokay tent, getting a heavily mist, making sure everything is good, getting sure that I have the insects in there. You were saying, you know, a variety of different roaches, crickets, things like that, that the animals would get. That's about 20 bins in there, or no, I think it's like 12 or 13 bins in there that I pour food at equally, making sure everyone has fun. I usually stick around for about 5 minutes after I turn the lights off in that tent, because I love hearing them say tokay, and then I can hear like them jumping on the food, and that's just always fun to hear. Then lastly, come back home, making sure everyone's happy and healthy here, feed the dogs for the night, head back into the bedroom, edit videos for another 4 to 5 hours, being sure that's all done, upload the video on YouTube at about 2 or 3 in the morning, stay awake for about another hour because I have insomnia and have no idea how to sleep, and just lay in bed and just hope sleepness will just please grace me with its presence. I pray for sleep every night. Wake up the next morning and do it all over again. Every day, all day. That is what I do here at DBCB Exotics. He was scratching on the enclosure, so I let him out. I know he didn't want to come out, but I heard him, and then I was like, okay buddy, that means you want to come out. So now you get to enjoy his presence for the last part of this video. So, after all that, I guess it's time to answer the big question. Do I regret becoming a full-time reptile breeder and having this be my life? But before I answer that, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? And now that you've heard literally everything I do here every single day, would you want to do this? You know, you get a lot of people that are like, oh, my dream is to be a full-time breeder. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm doing, I want to work with reptiles 24/7. Now that you hear what it entails, would you still want to be a full-time breeder? Comment down below. I'm very curious. As far as for me, if I'd regret doing this as full-time and just getting into as many projects and different animals that I have, I can't say that I do, really. Do I think it's meant for everyone? Absolutely not. There's definitely a lot of hardships that come with owning a collection of this size or operating a business of this magnitude, I guess you want to say. It's a pretty small business at this point, but don't worry, it'll get a little bigger. There's a lot of things to consider when becoming a full-time breeder, and again, having a collection of this magnitude. Stuff like vacations. I've had some people recently just being like, oh man, you know, now that you know you're full-time, you know, you don't gotta worry about taking time out for a job, you should come up here and hang out, you know, like go across state lines and go hang out with people, you know, like across the country, and I can't really do that. I mean, I don't know, like I've ever since I started DBCB Exotics, and pretty much a year or two before that, I've never taken a vacation. I've never taken time off and gone like far away at multiple days at a time with this collection, because I don't have anyone that can run it while I'm gone. I don't have anyone close to me that I trust with a collection of this size and a collection of this expense. I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands and so many thousands of dollars. I don't want to know how much it costs on acquiring all these animals in this breeding project, and I don't just trust that with anyone to just be like, alright, go take care of my hundreds of animals now. I'll be back in a week. That's just, That's not something, he's giving me like mad stink eye right now. Yeah, that's just not something that I do. I mean, eventually it has to be. Of course, going to expos, I'll have to figure something out. Maybe I'll host some interviews. If you live near the New Hampshire area and you want to take care of a collection of 100 reptiles, apply now. It doesn't pay well because I'm broke from all the reptiles. But we almost out of time. You're getting spooked. Such a cool lizard. I fucking love this quince monitor. I've always thought this quince monitor was small, and then I got those babies that you guys saw yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty big monitor. It's about the size of any standard tree monitor at this point. About, I don't know, what do you say, like 2.5 feet? It's got that long tail, but it seems at this point he's kind of done with me. He's looking at a way to run away, so we are gonna put him up and then wrap up this video. Yep, here it comes. He's like, okay, time to run away. Where you going? See, I know him. He's gonna walk around like this oh so casually and then just book it when I'm not paying attention. He thinks he can play tricks on me, but I know you too well now, Mr. Monitor. As far as regretting doing this, I definitely don't have any regrets, and I couldn't see it any other way. I'm pretty contrary to popular belief from me making YouTube videos, I'm a very antisocial person. I'm a huge introvert. Before this, I was not, I rarely ever go out, things like this, so this is a pretty good scenario for me, because now I have an excuse to stay home all day, and it's not just like, because I don't want to go out. But however, at the same time, I mean, it's definitely, it's a lot of work. You gotta have the love for it, you gotta have the drive for it, man. I love what I do every single day, so although, like, I just listed the various things that I do, I really wouldn't have it any other way. It gets hard at some points, of course, with, you know, family relationships, He's wondering where his plant is, because I had to go water it, and he's like, where's my hiding plant? It gets a little tough in that aspect, and I'm just lucky enough to have a significant other that's so supportive in this kind of thing. I really don't, like, if she didn't love reptiles as much as I do, I probably would not be in a relationship, because any sane person would probably be like, this guy, these are some red flags. 100 reptiles? Those are some red flags right there. You gotta get out. But she's stuck with me now. I hope you see this and then chuckle. Do you watch my video? Renee, do you watch my videos? Are you watching them? We'll see. We'll see in this, with this clip. There's definitely been times in acquiring all these animals that I do wish I kind of had that, like, small collection. I have some envy for the small collection people that only own just a very few amount of reptiles. You're able to just do these extravagant, like, I really wish I could have just a few animals and just use, like, take up this entire room with these massive setups, full bioactive, just spending ridiculous amounts of money on each enclosure. That would be pretty rad, and I'm pretty envious of the people that are able to do that. This is kind of the life you go with, the route you go with. I went with this route, and you gotta stick with it. That you can't just be like, oh, you know what, I don't want to own 100 animals anymore. You're kind of stuck once you get to this point. And well, guys, there you have it. A day in the life of a full-time reptile breeder. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Hopefully the B-roll made up for this. Hopefully there's some nice music for you. Let's get into the outro stuff. So, as always, huge shout out to Zen Habitats. If you're not familiar with Zen Habitats, they are an aftermarket enclosure maker for reptiles. They make these immaculate enclosures like this one right here. Look at that, just fantastic. Remember what I was talking about earlier about getting extravagant enclosures for your reptiles? If that's you, Mr. Small Collection, you get some Zen Habitats, man. Your reptiles will love them. They look cool, decently priced. All in all, great stuff. Right down there in description. Help your boy out, get an awesome enclosure. Let's move on to the other stuff. So if you liked the video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of my animals or my breeding products, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, DBCB Exotics. What the fuck was that? DB! We got some merch designs right here. You can find that right there in the description at Teespring, where we also have Patreon, patreon.com/DBCB Exotics. You get a world of bonus footage, pretty much up-to-date stuff with all my breeding projects, first dibs on any of the reptiles I produce, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, a lot of monitor lizard videos, tokay videos, things like that. Just stuff I like to mess around with, and I'll make a little video and you guys get to see it. It's all good stuff. I gotta cut this short because my memory, I have like 20 seconds left before the memory card is full. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Patreon, $1. Right down there in the description, fellas. Fellas and fellas. What's the female version of fellas? Is fellas gender neutral? Oh shit, I gotta go. Outro time.